Hey everybody, HeadspaceConnections back with another book review. This time we're going to be talking about CPTSD. Or for those of you that aren't really sure what that is the shorter version of basically complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Now the book that we're going to be reviewing today is called Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving. Now the author for this one is known previously for another book he's written, but his name's Pete Walker. And for those of you that aren't familiar with his work, he also has a book called The Tao of Fully Healing. He personally has CPTSD. Basically, this book is telling about CPTSD, what it is, how it affects the brain of a child that has undergone enough experiences to develop CPTSD, the difference between a person with it and person without it, or even a person with PTSD in general, and what it takes for a child to be able to develop this. And it talks in more detail, like scientific and medical wise, about what causes it and the different kinds of people with CPTSD. Like for those of you that are already have some knowledge on trauma-based issues, it talks about the different trauma responses: flight, fight, fawn, freeze, and he goes into details about what each of those are and the different subtypes, which are sometimes different mixes of different ones, like flight and fright, freeze, fawn, fight. There's different mixes. I can't remember them at the top of my head, but there's a lot in here. And he is an actual psychologist, therapist himself, so he also puts like some of his experiences in trying to help his fellow clients that suffer from CPTSD. And he talks about both his not so great experiences and the experiences where he just felt like he accomplished something, like in being able to help somebody. He also talks about his own struggle with CPTSD, which I feel like if you're gonna be able to really feel like someone gets you, it'd be from somebody that has it themselves. But he also goes into, like I said, the different types, the different subtypes, but also in how you can help people or be able to help yourself if you relate more to a certain type. Also talks about managing, the symptoms associated with CPTSD, like emotional flashbacks, other comorbid disorders like depression, anxiety, suicidal ideations, and things like that. What I really like is, like for this example right here, it's 13 steps for managing emotional flashbacks. He even has like a list of stuff with, like a list of the steps with a little bit more in-depth information on them. And different things like that. How to, basically what he calls the critic, whether it's inner or outer critic, that can really affect people with CPTSD, even like throughout their whole lives. And talking about how triggers, learning how to identify what triggers you, learning how to manage those triggers, being able to manage the flashbacks, and how he talks about that with enough work, once you're able to manage flashbacks, manage the critic, you'll still have things that'll creep up every now and then, but if you can work to manage that, you'll be able to have, I guess, a little bit more of a fulfilling life, as he puts it. Be able to do more without fear of something setting you off, so to speak. But how it talks about how this critic, whether inner or outer, will affect your life in general, affect your relationships with others. Even talks about how if you were raised with parents with CPTSD themselves and just didn't know it, or people with their own issues like sociopaths, narcissists, things like that, how to be able to cancel out the inner and outer critics, to be able to get them quieted down or fight them back enough to where you have a little more control over if you flash back or get triggered into something. How to help with feelings of depression, suicide, and things like that. Like, from what we have seen with a lot of community, you hear a lot of people talk about PTSD, oh, military, and oh, PTSD from soldiers, or PTSD from people that underwent a harrowing experience. But you really don't hear a lot of information about CPTSD in general. Like, when you bring up CPTSD, think about 90% of the people I bring it up with have no idea what I'm talking about. So for those that feel like they may have CPTSD or may know somebody with CPTSD, or like a partner or a friend or something that seems to have like very self-destructive characteristics or habits, I mean, this book, he goes into detail about some of the characteristics from the different types, but different trauma types, and maybe it will help be able to give you some insight as to what's going on in their head, how to be able to help somebody with it. Now, of course, we're not saying like be their therapist, because I mean, having CPTSD or any trauma related disorder, you have to go through some heavy stuff, and it's going to be just as heavy getting out of it, or not even getting out of it, just being able to like calm it down. But also talks about, like, say if you are raised with a narcissistic parent or narcissistic parents, how to be able to work yourself out of the what they call the scapegoat mentality of, or just the mentality in general that your parents put on you, or whatever caregiver you had at the time if you weren't raised by your parents. But also talks about how, what I thought was really good, especially for those parents or people like us who are systems or who have CPTSD, he also mentioned that people are human. We make mistakes. And it's not the kids with the parents that make no mistakes, it's the ones that have almost perfect parenting. And in how he brings out that in reality that you're not ever going to be a perfect parent, but you can be almost perfect. Just enough to where your kid is not going to end up as damaged or as messed up, for lack of a better word, as you probably were. And I thought that was really good, that even though he does bring out, like, scientifically the facts and the negative sides of CPTSD, he also brings out a lot of positive to counteract the negative. Like, talking about how the things that, even though it feels hopeless, you can get through it. And especially, like I said, for people with CPTSD or systems with children that you're terrified of, oh my goodness, what if I ruin my kid like my parents ruined me or caregivers ruined me? And he brings out that knowing that you have a problem and you working on it is the first step in you realizing what you don't want to do, what you need to do and what you don't want to do. If I worded that correctly, I apologize if I didn't. I'm not gonna lie, kind of tired. But anyway, he also brings out like some other books that if you wanted to have some other readings, this is what I also liked about this book, is he also put like different toolkits, different toolboxes and lists of stuff that if you can't get to a therapist, he also has a sorry. He also, like, different toolboxes he has, suggestions to like help yourself, like if you're stuck in a flashback or if the inner critics or outer critics are really affecting you really bad. But he also has books, like a list of books recommended for reading if you wanted to do some more reading on your own about different kinds of CPTSD, books about different things, but usually they're all going to be some kind of trauma related. I haven't read any more of these, but they seem like really good reads. But I would definitely recommend this if you like a little bit of science. It's not super scientific, but it is enough that you can get some of the basic facts, but it's still understandable. It's not like trying to read a science textbook. So I would definitely recommend that. We got that one off Amazon too, but we will post a link in the video description so that if you guys want to be able to get it for yourself and read it, then it'll be there for easy access for you guys to look it up. We don't remember how much it was. I think it was from maybe 10 to 15 bucks, not really sure, but you can get on there and you guys will be able to check it out. But we do definitely recommend, since of course most people with systems are going to have CPTSD along with that. Not all, maybe, but majority. I know we do. But anyway, that is it for this video. We hope it was helpful. If there was a book or something in general that you wanted us to review, or if you're interested about, let us know in the comments below. You can also hit us up on Instagram or Pinterest. If you guys are friends with us on Facebook, you can look us up that way and message us. Just whichever. We're usually pretty good about checking our messages. We check them at least once a day. So it shouldn't be too long before we get back to you if you do have something for us. But yeah, that is the end of this video, and we hope to see you guys next time. Bye.